Hello everybody and welcome to another paint along. We're doing an acrylic quick little demo here on paper, just on a little sheet. It's a quarter sheet of a 9 by 12, so that's 4.5 by 6 inches, but any size you have is going to be just fine. Today we used really just a few colors. It was kind of nice to keep it simple, and we got some really cool splatter effect, and we went a little thick on the paint in spots, which was fun. So lots of shadows and highlights and splatter today. So let's get started. All right, so I've got my transfer done here. It's just done in chalk, and I'm going to start outlining this. My palette's laid out with my primary colors, some white in the middle, and I've got my leftover paint here. Check out this video on saving leftover paint if you haven't already. It's kind of handy. So what I like to do for the beginning is make a purple, and I'm just going to take, I've got a small brush here, small round brush. I'm going to take 2 scoops of red, 1 scoop of blue, just give that a mix. Gives us a nice purple shade, a nice dark color to ink in our sketch lines here. You may want to add some water at this stage. Just dip your brush in your water cup and back into your paint, and that'll help the paint spread. Now I'm just going to outline everything. I'm not overly concerned about getting it 100%, but I just want to give myself a guideline here. I like to provide the reference sketches more so that if you don't feel comfortable drawing it by freehand, something like the circle is a little tricky, you can use this sketch. But I don't want people to feel like they have to follow every line, because that's nearly impossible from a pencil to a brush. So mine's not perfect and yours doesn't have to be either. It's just a guideline to get us going. And so we're all kind of starting at the same point. But if you feel looser and more free going freehand, by all means do that. And if you feel like you're more comfortable with a smaller brush, use a smaller brush. I just find I get too detailed with the small brushes, which is why I try to power through with these bigger brushes. Okay, so that's my basic sketch. I also like to put shadows in at this stage, and there's really only a bit of shadow in here. And let's see. Always try to think of where the light source is coming from. So if the shadows cast here, because the light is shining in from this way, so then I might throw in some more shadow down here as well. And a little bit on this handle here. Yeah. That is good. I'm just going to rinse my brush out. I try to rinse out between colors most of the time, so my colors are nice and fresh. And I have some paper towel I just used to pat the rest of that water off. Okay, now this is going to have white for the cup and some kind of like a mocha colored coffee inside, and then we get to decide what we want to do with our table. So I'm going to keep it kind of simple today, I think. I think I might just feel out the artwork first and then go from there. So let's make that mocha color. So I will take, I call the little guy baby bear brush here. I usually have a mixture of a selection of small to medium sized brushes for artwork like this. We'll probably just use these two here today. But anything you have that you're comfortable with or that's close to this will be just fine. So I'll use the baby bear brush to mix up some mocha. So let's take a good scoop of white, maybe half of that in the yellow, and a little bit less in the red. And just give that a mix. We'll see what we get, and we will tweak it from there. Okay, that's not bad. It's not a bad color at all. What I kind of like that. You know what I think I'll do is I'll leave that, and then I'll do one more beside it that's a little darker. So let's see, we will do the same thing. So maybe just take a little bit less white. And this time let's take a little bit more yellow. So probably 1 to 1 there. Same with the red, a little bit more. So we'll stick to this 1 scoop for each. Give that a swirl. Now that's a lot darker and it's very red. So what I want to do is add a touch of blue. Just like a little bit to start. You can always add more, but it's really hard to take it out. Okay, maybe a little bit more, just to get a darker color here. Not bad. A little on the green side, but you know what? That's not bad. Yeah, I kind of like that. Okay. So we'll start with these two. And this will be our shadow. So this color is going to go in the dark spots. So I'll put it down here. And perhaps I'll carry it around here as well. Now there's a few sort of speckles that I think I'll put in at the end. Okay, so I'll leave that for now. Now let's go into the light color. So let me clean my brush out. And when I clean, I just kind of give it a swirl around the bottom of the glass here. And then just get the excess water off. So I'm not dirtying up some nice colors that I just made here. Okay, now the light color is going to go everywhere else. I'm leaving this part, like the heart shape sort of stuff, that's going to be white. That's like the cream of our coffee. Okay. Now you can go as close to those purple lines as you like or leave them. I like to overlap them slightly so there's no white of the paper showing, but I also like to show some of that purple because it acts as a nice little outline as well. Yeah, I might just carry this in a little bit more down here. Okay, that's a good color block. Now, while the colors are kind of wet, I like to work with them and blend right on there. So what I might do is just take some white. Let's throw the white in the center now and get that going. There's a little bit of that color still in my brush, and that's okay. This part can be nice and thick. You can really lay the paint in thick here. Okay, now I like that. Now I'm going to take a little bit of white and lighten that color that we had, that light mocha color here. Enough that you're going to notice a difference on the painting. Okay, and then I'm just going to throw that in and around. I might just dance around this guy. And kind of create this like circle swirl pattern around it. It's looking good. Okay, now I'm going to do some interesting stuff with this shadow. So I'll just take what's in my brush here and swirl it into a little bit of this dark so that I get a lighter version of that dark mocha color. I'm not taking too much of the dark because I still want to lighten it here. And this I can throw into this shadow here and just soften the edges of it. Now it might be a good time for some splatter. So to do the splatter, let me see, I want some really dark spots in there. So let me clean this brush or start with my new brush here. I'll clean this one. Okay, now any brush will work. I think I might get some good control with this brush here, so I think I'll use this for that. And I'm just going to dip it in a bit of water to, again, let it flow better. Okay, and then I'll dunk it in my paint. And if you're not sure about splatter, always test it on like a paper towel beside you. Gives you a good feel for how it's going to go. Okay, and I just want to create like a little bit of splatter around the coffee here. It's like the bubbles of the dark coffee are showing through it. It's going to get some of the white, and that's okay. I'll just touch that up. Ooh, I love splatter because you never really know what you're going to get. It's kind of everywhere in here. It's sort of all over. But you can sort of focus on the outer ring too if you want. That's really nice. And make some bigger ones if you like as well. Let's see if we can get some thicker dots. Okay, sometimes you can just make a dot. That works too. Like, just throw some big ones in here for drama. Looking good. Okay, I'll clean my brush. Now, if you like them on the cream, you can totally leave that, but I think I'll paint that out because this is sort of the thick stuff here. So if I want it to sort of make sense, the bubbles are kind of just happening on the coffee part, not the cream so much. All right. That's pretty good. And then you can go in and throw in some lines too if you need to. I think I might throw in a little more swirl action here. Whoops. All right, that's pretty good. Okay, so now we want to do the cup and the saucer, and that's just going to be like an off-white shade. So I will do mainly white here, and what I might do is just pull a little bit of this color into the white. That's a nice way to keep it nice and consistent in the painting, and everything kind of works well when you're working with the same colors. Now I'm just going to throw this everywhere, and then we'll shadow it afterwards. And again, you can leave as much purple as you like. Gets a little thin on the sides here, so that's going to be tricky. Okay, I'm just going to try to zoom in here so you can see this better. Okay, I think that's going to work out nice. Now I just want to continue on with my light colors around the coffee cup and saucer. Just adding a little bit more white into this. You'll notice some of these dark spots may not cover the first go. That's fine. Acrylics do need a few layers usually. And as it gets thin here, I'll just maybe add a little bit of water, and I'm going to mix a little bit more. So I'll just take another scoop here, mix a little bit more into this. I don't want to thin it out too much because it'll be transparent. So let me just see if I can do it without thinning it out. Yeah, that's pretty good. Okay, I'm just going to go all the way around. There. And don't forget our handle here. Tiny bit of the saucer comes down there. All right, now it's just a matter of laying it in a little thicker on these spots so I don't have any splatters on my saucer. And you might just have to let that dry and come back to it. I think that may be the case. But we can add some shadows and highlights to this as well. And I like to use my leftover paint for shadows, so I'll use that. If you don't have leftover paint, you'll just want to make a shadow color. So what you can do is take, we'll start with some blue. Okay, I'm just trying to replicate this color for those that don't have it. Some blue. I think I'll keep this down here, yeah. Some yellow. I'll clean my brush. Some yellow. Good amount of yellow. And a touch of red. It's really all the colors. That's why it ends up being this shade, because it's all the colors I have left over at the end of my painting sessions. And some white. Now that's a little bit more green, so what I need to do is add a little bit more red to that. See how that looks? Pretty close. Okay, so It's a great shadow color, but any dark color will work as a shadow. You can mix a purple with a little bit of white, so some blue, red, and white will work as well for a shadow, but I kind of like the way this is a bit softer. So let me put that, I'll put that down here. And perhaps I'll lighten it up a little bit. So I'll take what's just in my brush here with some white. And let's add a little bit of blue to that. Shadows are usually a blue tinge, purple or blue tinge, like on the cool side. That's pretty nice. Now my shadows are going to be, I think this might be a little green, so let me just get some red in there. That's better. More of a gray now. So what I like to do is add, use this color but tweak it if you need to, right? There we go, that's a little bit more of a dark gray color. Okay, now the shadows are going to be a little bit on the handle, a little bit at the bottom of the saucer here. Over on this side. You have to think about your light source, which then allows you to make it however you want it to be. So my light source is coming from the top right here, which is casting this shadow and these highlights. So shadows are going to be cast on the bottom left of anything that's sticking up. So it's casting inside the cup here because of the ridge of the cup, and it's casting at the bottom where the saucer and cup are down here. Okay. Maybe I'll mix a little bit more white into that. And then just throw a lighter version there. There we go. And then a tiny bit down here. That's nice. I don't want to forget my saucer. It comes around a little bit there. And maybe so we kind of lose the saucer here with the cup, but we could just fake it. That's what we get to do as artists. Make it how you want it. Okay, then I might put a little highlight in there as well. So I'll rinse out my brush because I want some pure white, I think, for that. Okay, so I'm just going to take the white straight as it is and throw a little highlight on the ridge, kind of just brushing with the shape of it there. And then again, my cup is going to be kind of bright too, so I'll throw a little bit on this edge. And then also going to hit this side here. It gets a lot of this cup. And then a highlight over here. Okay, I think that is gonna do it. Maybe a touch more in there. I try not to have too many straight lines. I like little broken up dots. I'm just seeing some dots, so I might splash a bit more white over that. All right. Okay, now we get to the background, which is anything you want it to be. I like this simplicity of white on white, so I think I might just do that. And I'll switch to a bigger brush. This is a good time to go to the medium-sized brush. And I want it to be pretty white, but a little bit of color is nice. So let me just scoop some of this into whatever's left here. And then we're just going to brush it in everywhere here. I don't want to lose that line, so I'm going to be careful to brush around it. It's okay if you mix a few different shades. And then the shadow I also want to keep, but I'll just brush up close to it. And we can go back over the shadow if we need to. So it's going to take quite a bit of white to cover these little guys here, which is all right. This is a chance to kind of make your shadows the way you want them to. Just going to take straight white and throw it down there, see what happens. Okay, I'll let that dry and I'll go into the shadow a little bit more here. I might go back to the baby bear brush for that and just pick up some of the shadow color. Just kind of go over that where the white and the shadow meet here. Shadow lines are interesting. Sometimes they're crisp if they're really, like if it's a sharp shadow. And this one I want to soften a little. So I might try to just blend it with that white right on there. Now, I'll just kind of go back and forth until I like the line that I have. It's a bit too busy for my liking, so I'm just going to soften that up a little. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Now, I may have to throw a little bit more color in there to get those speckles out. So maybe we mix some white with some light gray, some of this color. Just looking for an off shade. Oh, make sure you guys can see what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm just kind of throwing a little bit more color into this background to cover up these guys. And I like to be thick at this point because we're nearly complete. So just have fun with it. Go to town with the brush strokes. And this is where you can really get expressionistic with your brush work, kind of make some bold lines here. I like how that color evolved. Happy accident. Okay, now I might just throw in a few dots here and there. I like to do kind of a pointillism method where there's just a few bold brush strokes remaining. Give it some energy and some interest. And how much you want to do that is up to you. Some people love to blend it out. I'm more of a let it show, let the brush strokes show kind of gal. Okay, and then you just sort of look at the overall piece and make sure you're happy with it. I'm pretty happy with how this came about. I could go all day really with this. Might darken that line, got a little lost there. Just kind of look at the overall thing, maybe walk out of the room, come back to it with a bit of a fresh eye. Lets you see it, better. I just want to darken this a touch. And I lost that line a little there too, so maybe I'll pull it down just a little bit in here. There are, interestingly, there are highlights and shadows as well, so don't be afraid to lighten up a shadow every once in a while. Okay, that's good. Now, because I did that, I want to just go in one more time with my light color here, just to soften that a touch. It's easy to get carried away, and I sort of feel like this may be my tipping point. So I'm going to stop. I like what's happening with this overall piece. There. Okay. I will stop and we'll call it complete. I like this now. Let me just take the tape off so you can see. I'll zoom out a little here. You can leave the tape on, but I just want to show you how it looks. Oh, I ripped a little too fast there. That's okay. Okay. So you want to go slow and away from your work. I got excited there. Okay. This painter's tape is pretty good overall, but every once in a while it does tear, so that's just be a little careful, that's all. But this was a fun exercise. The splatter technique came in really handy here. I like this. I hope you had fun with our little coffee art, and we will see you in the next tutorial.